Just Mike Seidel. And Mike, has enough snow fallen if the kids want to get out to make maybe some snowballs, a snowman, do a little sledding? Have we seen enough accumulate yet?
Just barely. You can look down at the ground here. We don't quite have an inch, but I can tell you it's got a high moisture content. The Weather Service is talking about 5 to 1. Typically, we talk 10 to 1, but the temperature's 33. Let me show you, Steph, on this park bench. Okay, it's wet snow. Oh, my gosh. Now watch what happens when I squeeze it.
Oh, wow, Mike.
See all the water come?
Yeah.
See all the water coming out of it?
That's
so
impressive.
That's what we talk about. The water. Yeah, the water content. Yeah, it's heavy. This is heart attack snow. So if you have to shovel later today, let someone younger do it if you've got any kind of heart condition, because this is a real intense workout. Show you the flags over here. We've got a northeast wind running at about 15 miles an hour. Airport just gusted to 28 miles an hour. So we'll see how that works into power outages. In the state so far, 1,500. By far, the hardest hit area has been the Ozarks. That's north of Little Rock, northern Arkansas, southern Missouri, where they've had upwards of a foot of snow. And combined between the two states, we have about 165,000 customers without power. Biggest storm they've had here all year was back in mid-November, in the fall. They had 2.7. They're up to 5.1 until this started falling. So we're making up for lost time here. Temperatures this afternoon will edge up 34, maybe 35. So once the intensity backs off, the roads will start to melt off again. But right now you can see we've got some accumulation, some slushy accumulation on the roadways here downtown. And there goes, it looks like a salt truck going around the corner there with the flashing lights. So it is going to be kind of dicey through midday, and then through this afternoon, the snow will wind down, and we will see things improve for the afternoon. Visibility right now is down to 3/4 of a mile here in the Indianapolis area. By the way, just waiting for the FAA to talk us about the ground stop in Indianapolis. The ground stop in Chicago. It is expected to expire in a few minutes. We'll see if they extend that. By the way, I know that sounds like bad news, but so far at O'Hare, they've only canceled 61 flights. They've had over 100 delayed flights, but expect those delays to mount up because of the ground stop, meaning nothing can fly in, and we get some delays. We'll come back and update you on the severe threat. We still have the tornado watch down south on the Gulf Coast. That's next with Stephanie and Jordan.
Let's take you there live. Meteorologist Mike Seidel is in the Circle City this morning. And Mike, the snow is going to keep piling up as we head throughout this midweek. It's already piling up on your jacket right now.
Yes, I can almost measure it on my jacket. It's a very heavy, wet snow. The temperature is 33 around the various airports, including at IND, where they've canceled 39 flights. 20 departures. That number has not changed since late last night and early this morning. Snow has picked up. The visibility out there is a half-mile moderate snow, and the winds out there have gusted 25 to 30 miles an hour, a wide open area. We're downtown in the park, and you can see the visibility has dropped here down to about a half a mile. We can see about a block and a half, and that's it. Roadways are getting slushed up because of the intensity of the snow. We have daylight working for us, but when it snows hard, it will still accumulate here in January, mid to late January. The sun angle is still fairly low, so we're going to have to deal with that. Now, once the intensity backs off this afternoon, we'll see things improve quite a bit. I've seen the plows out this morning, so they're trying to keep up with this. It just started snowing hard about 45 minutes ago. This is going to be the biggest storm of the season, very likely. Their biggest storm was a mere 2.7, and that was back last fall in mid-November. And so they're running a big deficit of about 60% down from where they should be this time of the year. So temperatures this afternoon up to about 34, 35. That will help out things. All schools today basically are closed, or everybody's home during e-learning, and it's a nice day. But again, very heavy, wet snow. We'll see if we end up with many power outages, Alex. We have some wind here. Most of the power outages have been in the Ozarks. Last check, 160,000 customers between Missouri and northern Arkansas. But right now, we've just got about 1,000 customers out without power, Alex, and they're downstate. A pretty picture here in the Midwest, and all these locations, Chicago, Detroit, Indy, St. Louis, are making up for lost time. Most of those stations are running a 50 to 70% snowfall deficit coming into Cassandra.
All right, thanks so much, Mike. Getting a chance to see the snow adding up and piling up there. We'll check back with you as we head on through the morning. Meanwhile, on the northern extent of all this, yeah, we're dealing with the snowy side of things. And that's where we find our very own meteorologist, Mike Seidel. They're in Indy. And Mike, unlike the last time you were out, not missing the boat on the snow.
You had to bring back the nightmare in Omaha, huh? Well, yes, this time the dry slide is going to stay to our east and south, so we are in the thick of it right now. We will be in it until around 12 or 1 o'clock. Then the intensity will back off. On the radar, you can see everything is coming up from the south-southwest. Overnight, a foot of snow in the Ozarks of Arkansas and Missouri. That's where we have the most power outages between those two states now, over 160,000 customers out. So far, so good here. We've had about an inch of snow. Airport now reporting S+, heavy snow, and visibility is 1/4 mile. You can see what it's done to the streets. Even though the temperature's 33, even though we have daylight, as expected, when it snows hard, even at this situation with temperatures just above freezing, it does accumulate and slush up. The plow just went by for the first time and has cleared off a nice path. What's going to happen this afternoon as the snow intensity lightens up and the temperatures get back up, maybe 34, 35, we're going to see a lot of that melting off, and the roads will be in better shape for the afternoon and evening rush hour. Sunset here is about 6 p.m. now, so that gives another hour of light versus, some places back east where it gets dark at 4:30 or 5. So that should help out with at least the early part of the rush hour as far as any kind of re-freezing. Airport, still 39 cancellations. That has not changed this morning, but there'll be de-icing. That will slow you down. We're going to come back and go back to the Gulf Coast. A tornado watch right now up until 11 a.m. Eastern. There could be additional watches through the late morning and this afternoon. Alex and Paul back with the update, the severe threat and the tornado threat coming up next here on the Weather Channel.
Meanwhile, we head northbound and, well, we find our very own Mike Seidel dealing with the snowy side of things. And Mike, some decent, I would say, certainly some shovelable snow you're dealing with there in Indianapolis.
Yes, snowy, but a wet, heavy snow, very packable. Let me show you. You can roll a snow ball and make it even bigger. Look at this. There's the green grass below. We've had a couple of inches of snow. You just keep rolling it and rolling it. Couldn't do that in those blizzards out west because it was powdery snow, but when it's 33 degrees, it just keeps rolling and rolling. There you go. Ooh, that thing must weigh about 20 pounds. You know why? It's full of water. The 10-to-1 ratio, I think it's more like 7 or 8-to-1, maybe even lower. Anyway, we'll go out and show you what's going on the streets here. And we had the heavy snow last hour. We had an inch at the airport. The roads got all snow covered and snow slush. And now that the intensity's backed off, look what we have. Just a slushy, dirty mess. You still got to, take it easy when you brake, but it certainly could be a lot worse. If it was just 3 or 4 degrees colder, it would be a whole different story here in the Midwest. But most of the snow has fallen at temperatures just above freezing, except for the Ozarks last night, and that's why they've had issues with power outages, about 150, 160,000 across the Ozarks. So we got slush on the roadways. We've got melting slush and water right here in the gutters. Don't wear your best shoes out here today. And that's the story. It's going to snow in early afternoon. We should end up with 4 or 5 inches. 5.2 is the season total so far, 5.1 actually, and their biggest storm was 2.7, so we may actually get the biggest storm out of this snowfall. We'll come back in a few minutes, back to the Gulf Coast and southeast as the severe threat continues through this afternoon into early this evening. Keep you updated. Back to Alex and Paul in Atlanta. Stay with us. Still snowing, Felicia, but it's not snowing very hard. It's picking up a little bit right now. It comes and goes. We had an inch of snow between 9 and 10, and that's when we had the heavy snow, 1/4 mile visibility at the airport. The bottom line is the temperature. It's all about the temperature today, 33. It's been stuck there since it was briefly 32 around 3 a.m. this morning. So as a result, when the heavy snow backs off, the roads slush up and the snow melts. As you can see here, if you're watching an hour or so ago, it was snowing much harder. In fact, we'll show you the snowplow coming down the road here in downtown Indy at the parks about an hour ago, and the roads were in worse condition. But it didn't last very long because the intensity, it lightened up. So we've got the dirty, slushy snow. If you get out of your vehicle on the curb, watch out. You know, just cold, dirty water and slush. And as we've been showing you all morning, it's really not sticking to the trees. In fact, when I shake it, what's coming off is water. And look at this, under the tree, which acts kind of as a blanket. Have you ever noticed when it's snowing and under the tree, it doesn't stick? When temperatures are right around freezing or a little bit above, kind of acts as a blanket. So the snow's melting. It's putting pop marks in the snow here. And look at this, it's just slush. So that's what we're looking at this afternoon, another inch or two. Heaviest snow right now is northwest of Indianapolis, where temperatures are still, I checked Kokomo, moderate snow, half-mile visibility, 34. Airport, up to 40 cancellations, so one more flight has been canceled over the past 5 or 6 hours. The big question today is what happens in New York City, and to get the answer, we sent Jen Carfagno up to Central Park. And Jen, I hate to tell you this, but the temperature keeps going up. I'm sure you noticed that, but hey, look at it this way. When you wrap up, as they always tell me, go out and get a good meal. Go out and get a good meal in New York City.
Oh, and that's easy to do. Lots of good choices here, Mike. I'll tell you what, I mean, I can feel the temperature actually going up.
Let's take you into one snowy city, Indianapolis, where Mike Seidel is this morning. And Mike, Indy definitely kind of suffering a little snow drought as well. Before the snow started falling this morning, you guys picked up less than 5 inches, talking about maybe a third of where we should be through this time of the year.
Yeah, many other cities in the Midwest, Chicago at a third, they only had about 6 down a foot. Detroit, also St. Louis, those areas about 50% of average. So many areas in the Midwest, except for Minneapolis, St. Paul, where they've had already their seasonal average, Paul, just over 52 inches. I think their seasonal average, 30-year average, is 51.2. So it's making up. We're putting a bit of a dent into what we've had so far this season. The biggest storm was in November with 2.7. It's flaking again. It's still light snow, but at least now you can see it on camera. And look at the sidewalks that haven't been plowed. It's just all like, it's like a snow cone, like a plain snow cone. And when you pick it back up and you squeeze it, it's just filled with water. That's because all of the snow has fallen at temperatures at 33. It makes a big difference, especially when you've got daylight. You got some radiation coming through the clouds. So the streets, which were snow-packed and snow-covered when it was snowing at an inch an hour, are now just slushy. You still have to slow down, but look at all the spray. That's why it's hard to keep a car clean up north, Paul, because of all the salt on the highways, and you wash your car, the next storm comes along. But this year, this is likely going to be the biggest storm so far this winter. All we need is 2.8 inches. We've had over 2.
So, Mike, what about school? Is school in session? Do they have the whole online learning? What's going on with the kids today?
Yeah, just about everything I could tell has shut down for in-person instruction. A lot of schools, like the Indianapolis public schools, are doing e-learning. And as I mentioned earlier, between COVID and high-speed internet, the snow day has gone the way of many other things. The rotary phone, the typewriter, and a whole list of other items.
Yeah, we can reminisce as we tell our kids, oh, back in the day. But also, Mike, I see behind you someone's there shoveling the sidewalk. What about the roads? You see plows, salt trucks. What's going on the streets?
Well, we showed you the road. The plow came by earlier once. That's all it needed to do, because then the snow lightened up, and with a 33-degree reading and the daylight, you can see at this point it's just dirty slush. It may snow a little harder again in the next couple of hours, but after that it's going to wind down, and that will pretty much be it for the accumulating snow. Look out next week, though. Not so much the snowfall, but temperatures in the morning will be down between 0 and 5, above 0 here in Indy.